Hi everyone, this is Priyadarshini Tyagi from Mom's Belief, and welcoming all of you for the webinar today. We have Dr. Sarika V. Jambulkar, who is Masters in Physiotherapy, Musculoskeletal Science, Podiatry, expert, LBG Medical UK, specialized in ankle foot problems, founder of V Care Clinic, expert and development head for ProPag, member of Indian Podiatry Physiotherapist Association, LBG Medical UK certified practitioner, and speaker for India. Today, she will be guiding us and talking about how you can become a podiatry practitioner. And we hope this session gives you a lot of information about it. Sarika ji, over to you. You can start with your presentation and a very warm
Start. Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're good to start.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So as introduced, we are going to talk about the podiatry, which is a kind of very innovative solution to ankle and foot and lower limb related problems. And being a physio or say occupational therapist, always we deals with the people who has a mobility issues. We deal with the person's mobility, walking pattern, if they have any pain and discomfort and all. And food plays very crucial role into it, and unfortunately there is not much awareness about this, not in just general population but about in medical population also. So here it's mainly attempt to create that awareness, particularly in physiotherapy population. So where if you come across any sort of patients with these kinds of problem, then you know what to do, you know where to guide to the patient, or maybe you can be yourself. You'll be able to help the patient with that problem. Now, since this COVID has struck, it has shaken up the whole world and it has hampered lots of businesses, lots of fields, and our physiotherapy profession is also affected by this as well. And everyone is thinking about what new thing can they do, what new skills they can learn, so they will be able to re-establish their practice again. But now, because of since past 6 months crisis, no one has much money to invest. So everyone want to create some extra revenue source, which should require like very lowest investment, or rather without any sort of investment. It should be profitable. It should be less time taking. It should demand minimum space, or rather if it will adjust in your current place, means wherever you're practicing right now, if there's something you can include in your practice itself. Okay, and what kind of support you can get to start with. Okay, so don't worry, mainly we are going to talk about that. Okay, so just some brief about the podiatry. So basically podiatrist is a doctor who specializes in treating conditions related to foot, ankle and lower limb. And consequently, the medical science of diagnosis and treatment of foot, ankle, and lower limb related problems is called as a podiatry. Now, podiatry has been practiced since early 19th century in America, US, or Australia also. Okay. So this image is very crucial to understand, what is the importance of the foot. Like foot is base of our body. The base is altered, the foot alignment, consequently, it's going to hamper your entire posture. So here, if you see the this first image with the green arrows, the foot is well aligned, the knees are knee level is well aligned, the pelvis is level, shoulder are level. Now, suppose because of any reason, if say one side arches collapses, that's going to increase the rotatory forces at the knee, and that side knee is going to come down. That's going to result in drop of the pelvis of that side also, and that's going to hamper your posture at the spine also, and eventually it will lead to the shoulder alignment. Now, 3 out of 4 people experience serious foot complication in their lifetime, and most of the time it is neglected. Now, being a physio, these are a few conditions which we come across on in our day-to-day practice. First is the flat feet. Plantar fasciitis, most common problem nowadays. Calcaneal spur, which is consequent effect of plantar fasciitis. Achilles tendinitis, retrocalcaneal spur, recurrent ankle sprain, patellofemoral pain, IT band syndrome, osteoarthritis of the knee, recurrent back pain, and condyle calluses. Now, recurrent back pain, here I'm talking about you might be getting a patient who's doing their core stability exercises very regularly and all, but still their back is reoccurring. Okay, so we have to figure out whether that pain is related to their feet or not. How? We'll be coming up to that later. Now, how does it work? So, in physiotherapy, third year also, we are always trained in the diagnosis. So, before starting the treatment, it is essential to identify the root cause, which can only be known after the thorough assessment. Now, when it comes to the foot assessment, it's very important to understand patient's complaints and lifestyle. So say if a person can be housewife who does lots of standing at home, okay, or maybe person's occupation is into sales where he's walking a lot and that too in the formal shoes, or maybe the person is a marathon runner. So you have need to understand the patient complaints. Okay. Now next is the visual inspection of the foot. Foot alignment and posture. Now this is just very gross term. There are lots of windows there about the foot alignment and posture. Gait analysis, foot sensation. Foot sensation is important when particularly patient is diabetic or having any sort of neuropathy. Measurement of the foot size, inspection of the patient's footwear, existing footwear which person is using since a long, right? So the wear out pattern of that footwear can give a lot of clue about how is the person's walking style. Now here I'm going to give you the 4-point quick screening to identify the patient. It means like you have patients say plantar fasciitis or some kind of foot related issue. You're doing already your regular physiotherapy management, or maybe patient has taken already physiotherapy, but the symptoms are reoccurring. So how to identify that, this is the patient who's going to need actually the podiatry intervention. So these are the 4-point quick screening you can do in like just 5 minutes also, and then you will come to know whether these patients need the podiatry help. Okay. First is observe the patient's toes. Okay. If there's any toe deviation, the first image is like very commonly seen hallux valgus with bunion. You can get an opposite deviation. There is a adduction of the toes. Okay. It's also called as a banana feet. And the third image shows clawing of the toes. Clawing of the toes mainly suggests if there is any balance issues. Okay. Now, observe the medial arch, particularly in weight bearing position. Okay. So in standing, observe the inner side of the feet, whether the arch is normal, whether person is having a high arch, or whether person is having a flat feet. Main thing is do it in the weight bearing position. Heel deviation, that is you need to observe the calcaneus from behind. If the heel bone is turning inwards or turning outwards. So the first image, it shows the pronation. So person who has a flat feet, their ankle roll inwards and the calcaneus is going to into eversion. Center image is basically the neutral near normal. The third image is showing the supination where the calcaneus is in inversion because of the high arch. And the fourth point is corn and calluses. Now, as a physio, maybe you will not be able to you will not get a cases with this problem like a corn and calluses. But if the person is having any calluses which are reoccurring, the calluses are happen due to undue pressure coming over certain areas over the foot. Say, like for example, if the person is having a flat foot, the foot is going to roll on the inner side of the foot, right? So there they are going to exert more pressure, and the person will develop a callosities over the say great toe or the first metatarsal head also, and then eventually the calluses can get converted to corn problems. So these are the 4 points you can screen your patient for the foot problem. Okay, now you screen your patient and patient has some possible deformities and there is some arch abnormality also. Now what to do? And that is where the lack in the study, because in a curriculum the foot assessment is there, we have studied biomechanics, we know how to evaluate, but after evaluation what to do? That's mainly practical part of it. Okay. So in the workshop or here or at our clinic we care where we practice podiatry, after the assessment we prescribe some prefabricated orthotics. These are from LBG Medical UK and these are designed by the podiatrists. These are designed in the lab of LBG Medical. I'm just going to introduce the orthotics. Just there are three main orthotics. There are more than this also. So how to basically prescribe it? Okay, there are densities, means depends on the hardness of the material. The high density full length insole, high means which is the hardest material. When the person has say very severe flat feet or person is overweight or person is athlete, we give a high density. Then there is a medium density, which is less hardness than the high density, and the last is the low density, which is the softest. So obviously the soft one, low density, goes to the sensitive patient like a diabetic, rheumatoid arthritis, or geriatric people. And the medium density, which maximum time we use, is the person with a moderate kind of issue or having moderate lifestyle, not very sedentary and not very active. These are called as a bedside orthotics. Why? Because it's very easy to prescribe. It doesn't consume time. You can customize it actually beside the bed, and you don't need any heavy equipment to customize it. That's why this is called as a bedside orthotics, and it's very feasible to prescribe. It's very easy to modify. Now, how the modification can be done? These insoles are heat moldable. Okay. Second, it comes with the different patches. So as per individual foot problem, we can add a different patches in different settings. So we can customize it as it per the patient's foot problem. So these are the few examples, like say forefoot valgus or metatarsal bar. If there is a lots of forefoot pressure, you can use a metatarsal pad. Or heel raise, say if a person is having leg length discrepancy, then one side you can as a short leg. Now we are going to see some case studies. One is with the plantar fasciitis. We'll be coming with few good videos also where you can see the good changes, after the orthotic intervention. So the first case study we are going to study about the plantar fasciitis, which is like very common problem. So this patient is 36-year-old female, housewife. She had a complaints of heel pain, more than the right side, difficult to step down, mostly in the morning while getting up, a classical symptom of plantar fasciitis. Calf and knee pain, more on the left side, and obviously she had a lots of low back pain also. The assessment reveals she had the pollen arches, there was a clawing of the toes, she had a calluses. There was a difference at the knee level also. So yeah, this checking a knee level is an integral part of the assessment where we can find out if there is any leg length discrepancy, and we'll get an idea why that patient is having symptoms only that one side more. X-ray was showing spur. You can see actually quite prominent spur was developed. She was advised to rest and cold pack, and the orthotic correction is, since she was a housewife, she was not wearing sports shoes at home, of course. So she was prescribed to Strive orthotic footwear for the home wear. Now Strive is again one brand of the LBG Medical only. It has a orthotic footbed, so it has a very nice orthotic correction. So that was prescribed for the home wear, and she was guided to schedule to use of orthotic footwear. Now schedule to use means when we are doing correction, patient will not be immediately comfortable with it. They just can't wear it throughout the day. Their body needs some time to get used to it. So we advise patient to wear it for 15-20 minutes, gradually increase the duration. And mostly within a week or 10 days also they get adjusted with that. And that's the reason we call patient follow-up after 2 weeks. So in a week time, they will get used to it. Next week, they will use it throughout the day, and then you can see the result. So after 2 weeks, when she came, her 90% of heel pain was relieved. And surprisingly, even back and knee discomfort was substantially reduced. Though she had come with the main concern of the heel pain, but with that one correction, even other symptoms got sorted out. Now that previous patient, she wanted to start later about the walk also. Then later we guided her about what type of shoe should wear, she should wear, and then we put a corrective bioorthotics in that shoes also. So she should be able to start with her walks. Now the second study we are going to see about, it's a 41-year-old female, complaints of pain and swelling at the inner side of left ankle since 3 months. Pain is increased gradually in 3 months. Initially, it used to hurt on prolonged standing and walking. Now unable to walk even few steps. A swelling present around left navicular area and grade 3 tenderness at navicular area. So next slide, I'm going to show you where is exactly patient the swelling. And I want you to try to figure out what it could be the possible diagnosis. Okay, so this is the inner side of the foot patients. It's a standing weight bearing image. Right foot, which is flat. Left, you see, there's a significant swelling around navicular area and it was very severely tender. Okay, I am still, so patient has flat feet. That's very clear. But there is important clinical diagnosis is also there, which after the assessment, I will tell you what is her diagnosis. So medial arch was flat bilaterally, left greater than right, left which is symptomatic side. Transverse arch was also reduced. Subtalar joint was badly overpronation, again left greater than right. Navicular drop present bilaterally, navicular drift again bilaterally. Calcaneus was evergent and again it was present bilaterally, left greater than right. There was a knee valgus also. So if you guys had any thought about the diagnosis, patient has a tibialis posterior tendon dysfunction. Usually in patients with the flat feet, tibialis posterior is the main muscle which support the medial arch. Okay, and it actually attaches over the one section. Okay, this is a foot model. So the tibialis posterior actually comes in, it's right attached to the navicular tuberosity. And it's always weak in the patients with the flat feet. So when because of any reason the tibialis posterior get injured, the arch fall more and patient get a developed marked swelling at the navicular area. Usually the symptoms are very severe and the patient will be like really distressed. Okay. So this patients, we have a videos like pre and post both ways. So we'll just go through the videos. So this is a day one video. You can see the patient walk, how she is limping on the left side. She is holding her hand with the anxiety because she's not able to place proper weight on her left leg. This patient has consulted several orthopedics, several physios also. And one physio also told her there's nothing can be done about it as she has flat feet. And the patient had like almost cried in a OPD that because she was like, okay, nothing can be done because it's flat feet. Okay, now you need to see the result. This is just in 2 weeks of time. There is no limp. The swelling was gone. Limp is like very minimal now. The patient is happy. Like pain is also very minimal. 90% of pain is gone. Okay, now we'll see the same patient walk with the shoes. Now this is the same video which we saw in the previous slide. Now we can compare it with the walking with the shoes. Now she's wearing the sport shoes which was advised for her, and I have also added the insoles in that shoes. So whatever that minimal limp was there compared to the day one, with the shoes and insoles, even that limp was gone. So this flat feet, you can say this is kind of one of very severe kind of flat feet also. But even person with such a severe flat feet with tibialis posterior injury also, those patients can resume their active lifestyle. They can walking can be improved with the appropriate sport shoes and appropriate insoles. Again, I'll play with the shoes. Okay, now we'll go to the next. So how this patient was treated? Since the pain and injury was so bad, she was advised for the rest and cold pack, and she was prescribed orthotic footwear for the home wear. Her walking shoes were very flimsy, guided for the right sport shoes. Now this is also very common that most of the patients they start their workout with any usually wrong type of sports shoes. Initially they are fine, or initially even if they are getting any pain, they feel like it's because of their new workout and all. But the wrong or flimsy sports shoes can be really aggravating factor, or it can be really invitation to these kind of injuries like tibialis posterior dysfunction or plantar fasciitis and all. So she was advised again for the right sport shoes and prescribed the style orthotic footwear. And follow up, 80% of the pain was gone, swelling was almost gone. Uh, she was advised for the sport shoes and she got it. And in that, we had put our insoles. And then we started with the exercises session to strengthen the intrinsic foot muscles and tibialis posterior muscle particularly. Now, this is one of the case study. Like as an earlier slide, I had mentioned about the back pain and all. Or we need to understand how is the flat feet hampers the posture. In kids, that effect is very very pronounced. Flat feet lead to anterior tilt of the pelvic, and it increases in the lumbar lordosis. So this kid who was like 9, 10 year old, and its parents' main concern was the way his tummy was bulging out and the way his back arches. Uh, there is a spine X-ray which shows some sort of mild scoliosis also, and you can see how the posture was. Kid has a flat feet also, so we did a correction for the flat feet. I advised for the right shoes. We did a added insoles in the sport shoe, and plus started with the physiotherapy session to strengthen his core muscles. And so you see the first image which was taken on for 11 June 2016. And this is the second image after like 4 months of the therapy sessions and plus the foot corrections. It is taken in on 3rd November 2016. So in 4 months, you get a remarkable result. Now, how it was achieved mainly because it was with the combination of the podiatry and physiotherapy. So I'll not say the foot correction is done and all is gone. No, it's not that. You have to correct the musculoskeletal imbalance because that is our main core physiotherapy practice. So do the foot correction and give the appropriate exercise program, and you get a excellent results. This is again one of the case with the painful cons. Patient had multiple three cons. Guy was working at the one of the very big restaurant as a floor manager, where he used to stand for like 14, 15 hours also, and he used to literally put the corn caps and go to the work. Now corn caps has the salicylic acid which is not skin friendly, and it increases the corn problem. One doctor had advised him for the surgery. So at clinic, when we did the orthotic correction, mainly orthotic correction to upload the pressure from the corn area, the corn started healing, and in 3 months of time also, the third, fourth, this corn was like a oldest one. Patient is having a high arch, so that took little longer, but that kind of improvement has happened. So after this, we are going to see some testimonials of the patient, and then we'll have a one video about our previous workshops. So this is the feedback. It's audible, right? It was audible, right? Ecuador.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It is audible.
That's great.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pratik Katre, and I have been suffering from corns on my left sole since 2010. My previous job entailed that I had to be standing on my feet for more than 12 to 14 hours, and it had a lot of running around to do, which is why I developed these very painful corns on the left sole of my feet. They were three in number, and it was very painful. I till I think between 2010 and 2013, I tried a lot of remedies like corn caps or insoles without having proper knowledge of what was actually ailing me. Luckily, in 2013, I came across Dr. Sarika, and she was a godsend. She advised me about my issues, that I had a high arc, and due to my job, there was too much pressure coming on my feet, and with a mixture of using her specialty techniques, the pain has now gone. I think it's in I think a year or so, two of the cons went. I think this is just one which is remaining right now, and I think for the past 7 years I've been a very happy patient at Dr. Sarika's clinic, and the way they take care of you and the way they address your problems, I don't think I have ever sort of seen a doctor do so good. Thank you.
Okay, there is.
Good morning.
Sorry. Supposed to be the next.
Hi, my name is Akila. I've been a patient of Dr. Sarika and Dr. Vilas's since 2016 now. I went to them originally for an ingrown toenail, which was very painful, and they not only helped me with that, but they've also treated it successfully and told me how to, at least wear proper footwear and all to avoid it. They also treated me for fallen arches and a plantar fasciitis problem that I thought was hereditary. Thanks to their inserts and their soles and their recommendations, I was able to go to the US within 6 months or so and walk around a lot for almost 1.5 months. They saved my vacation. I would say they've changed my life. I've taken so many family members to WeCare, and each one of them has come away completely impressed with how dedicated Dr. Vilas and Dr. Sarika are and the quality of care that we've received there. I've even had my sister from the US come, and they've helped us all so much. We're very thankful to have been their patients and will continue to do so. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe these are few interesting feedbacks. Now, how to the main thing is advantage of this practice, the investment, because most of the time when we think about the podiatric practice, people these days they have to install the foot scanning machine, which cost around 4 to 5 lakhs and all. So usually, no one shows interest in this practice. Now, mainly at WeCare or what we practice is that doesn't require any sort of investment of foot scanning machine and all. These are time-saving bedside orthotics that you don't have to really spend much time on the customization. Self-adhesive patches makes it very simple for follow-up modifications, and they're heat moldable. Space again, you can start in your current setup. Revenue add-on skills on your clinical practice, and hence it boosts revenue, and it's very result oriented. Uh, for physiotherapy, yeah, you might be having many local patients coming, but as you saw the testimonial, the some patient is coming from the Bangalore and all. When you are adding some very specialized skill in practice like a podiatry, people will travel really, really long distance. Like at WeCare, people really travel from Pune or say Surat, Gujarat, lots of other cities from the India, and lots of NRI patients. Like literally, they call from outside the country that in like maybe Christmas and all, they are coming at that time. They want to make an appointment over there. So this can happen mainly when you add something really extraordinary skill in your practice, and obviously it helps a lot to boost your revenue also. And the results are very excellent results you can get with this practice. We have few physios who has done a workshop before. There is one physio who is practicing in hospital, and she has absolutely invested zero amount of money except water for the workshop. She assesses the cases, she clicks the photograph, she takes the videos, and then she makes a call that, please check the videos and tell me what is recommended. She literally measure the patient's foot length with the tape, and then accordingly sentence measurement, and then we guide, okay, she will need this, and then we have to just send the product. So there is a foot scale made, which it's called as a random device where we can measure patient length and width. That is kind of minimum thing you need for the practice. But as I said, this physio is managing without that, and she is doing it very well. So it's like, absolutely up to you. If you want to start with absolutely zero investment, you can do with that also. Now again, there is a lots of hype about the custom made orthotics, where the person is made stand on some silicone thing and they make a mold and they make a orthotics. And at our clinic, I have seen many patients who has got the custom made orthotics, not just here, but lots of NRI patients also who had consulted with the podiatrist over there, and they have customized insole. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages? So again, the prefabricated doesn't need any heavy machinery or heavy financial investment. Whether the custom made needs really good infrastructure, a heavy financial investment in terms of scanning or say the grinding machine and all. Now prefabricated, you don't need any orthotician's help. Custom made, you need some orthotician to customize and grind the orthotics. Prefabricated are bedside orthotics. Custom made are very time consuming. The patient will come, you will evaluate, you take the impression, then the patient has to go and they have to come after 3-4 days to collect the orthotics. But prefabricated, you can actually give it on the same day also. The self-adhesive patches makes it very simple for the follow-up modifications. And once made, custom made, once made, if the patient has discomfort, then changes are very difficult. When you're adding self-adhesive patches, by any chance, if the patient has any discomfort, you can reduce it. You can do lots of changes on the spot. Wherein custom made, it's very difficult, and patient get really upset because they had already spent lots of money, and there is right now there is not much changes can be done. Now, prefabricated, all aspect can be covered for correction. All aspect means all three-dimensional corrections. Our foot functions in 3 planes. So the correction has to be done in the 3 planes. In custom made, always they more focus on navicular correction. So if it is a flat feet, they do really high lift on the navicular area, and they do lots of medial waves. Sometimes it helps, but sometimes it's very uncomfortable for the patient also. And they completely forget about the other planes, about the calcaneus eversion or about the forefoot realignment. Prefabricated insoles durability is about 1 to 2 years, and custom made about 6 months maximum. What I have seen, they lose this effect. So 6 months to 1 year is like maximum duration of it. So what we studied, it was just a kind of a teaser of what we practice at the clinic. And if anyone want to start practicing in this field, if they want to include this practice in their clinic, we're going to hold a workshop, okay, which will have a very detailed study about the lower limb biomechanics, gait. We'll be taking lots of practicals about the assessment, static and dynamic foot assessment, how the orthotics can be introduced, and how the customize can be done, with lots of case studies and videos also. Like in this presentation, we just saw the one video, but with various kind of arch patterns, we'll taking lots of videos. So we are having an upcoming workshop in next week, which is 30th and 31st of January. We're going to hold it at Bandra West, Mumbai. I guess most of you must have received it, details about the workshop. If not, we'll send it across. What are the workshop contents and fee structure is going to be. It's going to be Saturday, Sunday, full day workshop with all above mentioned contents. And I'm going to share one video of our previous workshop, how it was conducted and what was done. So you'll get a brief idea about the workshop. There will be two speakers, like I'll be there, and there will be another Dr. Shweta Gaikwad. The reason for 2 speakers is so we can give a personalized attention for all practicals, that everyone will understand how to evaluate the food properly. Okay, so I'll play this video, and after that we'll have a chat ready, that if you have any queries, you can feel free to ask.
इट वॉज रियली अ नाइस वर्कशॉप। हम लोगों को बहुत ज़्यादा कन्फ्यूजन्स थे कि फूड डिफॉर्मिटीज़ में क्या क्या करेक्शंस होने चाहिए, हम लोग खुद कर सकते हैं या किसी से जाके कराना चाहिए। बट अब इस वर्कशॉप के बाद हमें पता लगा कि हमें खुद से करेक्शंस कर सकते हैं और किस डिफॉर्मिटी में क्या करेक्शन करना चाहिए। और फूड डिफॉर्मिटीज़ से हम फूड डिफॉर्मिटी करेक्ट करके हील पेन, नी पेन, इवन पॉस्चर करेक्ट कर सकते हैं, वॉकिंग स्पीड बढ़ा सकते हैं, गेट साइकिल बेटर कर सकते हैं। इट वॉज रियली अ नाइस वर्कशॉप। थैंक्स टू द ऑर्गेनाइजिंग टीम।
मेरा नाम डॉक्टर सुनील चौहान है। मैं फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट हूँ और विदिशा एमडी में प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ। यहाँ ये वर्कशॉप अटेंड करने के पहले हमको फुट के बारे में इतना कुछ भी नहीं पता था। हम ये सोचते थे कि कोई भी नॉर्मल शूज़ जो उसने दे दिए वो पहन लिए, लेकिन आज ये वर्कशॉप अटेंड की हमने, पैर के बारे में, फुट असेसमेंट के बारे में इतनी गहराई से पढ़ा और ख़ुद के फुट को असेस किया, शूज़ देखे और इन सोल्स के बारे में पता किया। कि बहुत ही अमेजिंग वर्कशॉप है और इसमें हमें इतना अच्छा नॉलेज मिला है कि अब हम जाकर वहाँ पर सोसाइटी को ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन दे पाएंगे, ताकि वो लोगों को जो डिफ़ॉर्मिटीज़ हैं, जो उनके बाद में डिफ़ॉर्मिटीज़ होती हैं, उनको पहले से करेक्ट किया जा सके और वो अवेयर हो सकें कि उनके फुट में क्या प्रॉब्लम है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Okay, so you can ask for your queries. There are numbers mentioned about the workshops if you are interested. There is one more thing which is left to mention about the diabetic foot. Basically, it's very vast topic, and many of diabetic patients, say they from young age, they can have a flat feet or other sort of foot problem. They can have a corn and calluses from before, but now once they develop diabetes, which lead to vascular changes in the foot, lack of circulation, or say a lack of sensation in the feet, those corn and calluses can become a life threatening. It can get converted into ulcerations also. So in the diabetic foot, the offloading those corn and ulcers can really life saving, and we can save a lots of limbs in diabetes because of that. So that is also another aspect of this practice, that the similar science, if you can apply in diabetic patients also, we can prevent lots of amputations. Since India has become a capital of diabetic patient, this thing is really growing, and the incidence of amputation, which hampers the patient's mobility drastically. So when you do early intervention for the diabetic patient, you can get really good result, and you can save patient from surgeries and all. So these are the mentioned numbers, and if anyone has any query, you can put it in the chat box.
Hello, participants. We are now open for discussion. You can raise your hand or leave your question in the chat box, and Dr. Sarika will happily answer them. Please feel free.
Hi Virat, you have any question? Please ask. I unmute to you.
Yes, hi Virat.
Virat, you are on unmute. You can now go ahead
you
and
can
ask.
speak. You can ask the question.
Virat, are you able to unmute yourself? Shiv, can you please check if he's available right now?
Yes, I have unmute to him.
You can even type in the chat box. Meanwhile, I'll just tell you about the workshop. As mentioned, it's going to happen on 30th and 31st of January. The workshop fees is actually 7,000. But if you register before 25th, it's going to be 6,000. That's early bird registration. And after 29th, it's going to be the 8,000 rupees. So you can contact those below numbers to get the bank details and all, or if you have any query to ask about the workshop, that also can be done. Because of this unexpected COVID scenario, we will be planning to keep the workshop online also. That will be broadcasting at the same time. So in case if you are out of Mumbai and you are interested in doing it on the online basis, that also you can let us know. So accordingly, we can organize that way basically. Yeah. Anyone else? No questions?
All participant can unmute itself. You have the all permissions right now. If you have any query, please ask.
You can always drop your question in the chat box also. Or you can unmute yourself directly and ask the question. Meanwhile, Dr. Sarika, if you can throw some more light, like you talked about, help of podiatry during for a patient who's suffering with diabetes.
Yes.
What are the pre and post measures? Can it be helpful before a person, like you said, the calluses or the cones that are formed?
Right.
In the case of diabetes, what are the steps that are generally taken, and how much time does it generally takes for to take effect?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Okay, so in diabetic patient, most of the food complication happens because of lack of awareness. Many of the patients are not even aware about what is diabetic neuropathy, because in general, unless and we land up in trouble, we don't pay attention to it. So every patient who is diagnosed with a diabetes, they should know what are the possible complications. Like we always screen ourselves with the blood cholesterol testing that I might land up in heart disease or anything else. So same time, the diabetic patient has to be educated about what kind of food care they should take on every day-to-day basis. If the person is not having any sensation, now here I'm talking about diabetic patient without any sort of complication, like maybe they have not developed any ulcer yet. So that patient, this we can call it as a level 1 intervention. If so that patient is already educated that they should not walk bare feet, they should not smoke because smoking hampers the food circulation. If their sensation is hampered every day once, they should examine their feet properly, that they should not got any injury or blister or corn in the foot. So in case if any minor trauma has happened and it got unnoticed because of the lack of sensation, immediately they can ask for the medical help. Wearing appropriate shoes. Usually diabetic patients land up in foot trouble because of wearing wrong type of shoes also. Or many times they just walk bare feet and they get some hurt and they develop ulcer. Or a person is having corn, most of the in general people, they just go to the medical shop and picks up the corn caps and apply it. But even on the corn caps, it is written that diabetic patients should not use it because corn cap has the salicylic acid and acid is not skin friendly. So in general, corn cap, I don't advise for any other patient also, but diabetic patient, it's strictly no because we have seen patients who developed simple corn and he used a corn cap and the corn got infected and it get converted into a very deep ulcer. So that is not recommended. So on the level one, if you educate the patient, lots of food complications can be prevented. Level two is when patient has already developed some problem, like patient already have a corn or already have a ulcer. Now with whatever surgical help they are getting, with that we have to make sure that in the orthotic we do some adjustment to offload the pressure from the corn area or from the ulcer. So when the person stand and walk, the pressure should not come on that ulcer. Then only the wound starts healing. Because otherwise, no matter how well they do the dressing and they do the medications, whenever they stand and walk, the entire body weight is going to come on that ulcer or that wound. Then that wound will not heal properly. So that is a level two intervention. And the level three is if person has already developed some wound and some amputation has already happened. So immediately the entire foot amputation is not done. Many times the wound is at the grade 2, so they ampute the grade 2. Now with that what happens? The pressure is going to go on the other part of the toes. So they eventually in few years they start developing ulcer or blister at the other part of the toe. And then they get infected. Then that part of the foot need to be amputated. So the patient get really, stuck in that circle that they don't know what to do. They should stop walking. If they will stop walking, then the blood sugar will increase and there all other metabolic factors, heart, kidney, everything comes in the danger zone because of one factor, because their mobility is restricted. So with no matter whatever level of problem they are, we can do maximum so that we can make that patient mobile and still their ulcer or corn will not get hampered and they will heal. So that is very important. So awareness is very much important in diabetic patients.
Dr. Sarika, this was about diabetic patients, but I have a very important query here.
Yeah.
Since a lot of pain and problems related to ankle and foot, they arise later in the ages when we are in working scenarios and whatever. But is there any way to restrict it or take some preventive measures, right? Like when we go out finding shoes and slippers for our kids,
Right.
is it important, and how can we identify which thing can actually help? Because kids at times they walk on toes, or
Right.
they
Right.
don't they don't have their foot in the right place, or they're
Yes.
putting
Yes. Yes.
pressure unwantedly on different sections of the foot. So
Right. Right.
can that be managed and treated by a podiatry, and we can get some help on that?
Yes, 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 of course. So in general, the incidence of flat feet and knock knees is really increasing in kids because our foot is designed to walk on the natural surface like a sand, grass, and mitti. And since our lifestyle, which is particularly in metro cities, hardly our foot get exposure to the natural surface. So maximum time the kids are walking on hard concrete surface. That is why this flat feet and on all incidents are increasing in the kids. So, when your child is young, maybe below 5 years of age, if the parents will work to get them exposed on the sand or on the natural surface, and if they will just make them walk on the natural surface bare feet, that will help to, improve the foot muscles. Now, about the adults, I will say the way we say, wearing high heels can hamper your knees, can hamper your spine. So the way wrong footwear can hamper your body health in terms of joint arthritis and all, same way wearing corrective orthotic footwear can help for healing of your knees. It can help for your back pain and all. So the podiatrist can guide you about what kind of right orthotic footwear is needed. Plus, important thing is there's very simple thing. The way we dress on different occasions. For the wedding, we'll wear certain type of dresses. At work, we'll wear different kind of dresses. So about the footwear also, we have to consider that way. How much am I going to walk today? I'm going to have a lots of standing work throughout the day, then stick to the sports shoes. Okay, if you're going for a dinner or movie, where you're going to just sit on the chair, then you wear your fancy footwear. So this is the one of the simple step you can follow when you decide about the footwear. So yeah, you will have some luxury to indulge in your fancy footwear also, but when you are going to walk a lot, though that fancy footwear can really hamper your foot health.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarika. There was some very important information coming our way. And I hope our participants have been enriched with the information and the insights that you've shared with us. And if there are any more questions that any one of you would like to ask, Dr. Sarika is here. I guess there are no more questions. So Dr. Sarika will be wrapping up the session here. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Lovely session.
Yeah, most welcome. And thanks a lot for interesting questions.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah. Okay, then goodbye all.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.